What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We had a huge night with New Year's Smash officially wrapped up, where we had a possible ascension in the Elite. We had women's wrestling frenzy on AEW Dynamite this past week, and we had a huge main event for the TNT Championship. So you already know what time it is. I'm Kevin Jones, the Disciples of Wrestling, and let's get down to it. So we start off the show with Pac versus Eddie Kingston, where the action starts off quick and fast right away as Pac goes for a drop kick to the turnbuckle and it hits Eddie Kingston with a corkscrew dive to the outside. And then essentially Eddie Kingston gets control later on where he hits a diving knee from the middle rope onto the back of the head of Pac, where essentially we see, of course, the Blade and the Bunny get involved and go after Pac. And then eventually we see Rey Fenix and Pentagon get tired of this. And as they go over to approach the Butcher and the Blade, we see the ref Bryce Winberg get involved, cornering Rey Fenix and Pentagon. So this goes into essentially where as Eddie Kingston has control, Pac hits a huge explosive German suplex to where he gets the momentum swung back to him. And we see the finish where Pac hits a great and beautiful Black Arrow for the win. And of course, right after the match, it's not done. We see Pac lock in the Beast Bite, and then the Butcher and the Blade rush it to the ring. And then, of course, the Lucha Bros rush it to the ring to even the odds. And we see a face-to-face between the Family and the Death Triangle. And then we hear the music of Lance Archer as he runs down the entranceway to go after the Family. They go up the ramp to retreat. And then we see Pac and Lance Archer go face-to-face, where Archer warns Pac to either stay on the same page or he'll have to pay. The second match we have tonight is Chuck Taylor versus Miro. And if Chuck Taylor loses, he's Miro's young boy. So we go into it where Chuck Taylor's on a roll. Chuck Taylor's looking to get some retribution since Trent's going to be out with an injury for a few months. So he's on the roll, hitting offense inside the ring, hitting offense outside the ring, going for dives, really taking control of the match. But essentially, Miro takes control as he hits a huge Samoan drop on Chucky. And then it's just domination from there. Chuck Taylor had no offense going forward from the rest of the match. And then Miro hits a nice brutalizer, submitting Chuck Taylor. And now Chuck Taylor is officially Miro's butler until the end of the wedding. And the wedding's next month. So that's a whole month of Chuck Taylor being Miro's butler. Next up, backstage, we see an interview with Matt Hardy and the Private Party. As Matt Hardy is officially their manager as they signed the contract last week, we get their point of view and really see the reaction of these boys after that contract signing. Now, the guys are excited, of course, because Matt Hardy is their mentor. But Mark Quinn talks about how he doesn't like one of the things that are in the contract, which is for all the revenue they make from third-party organizations, Matt Hardy pockets 30% of it. Now, Matt Hardy told them that he should have read it. It was in the contract and they should have read it, and it's too late now because it's official. Now the boys are starting to question Matt, but Matt gets furious and gets worked up as he talks about the fans don't care about you, the locker room doesn't care about you, and quite frankly, nobody else on this roster cares about you. So you gotta listen to me because I found out the hard way at All Out that that's the truth. So we're seeing a different side of Matt Hardy. This is no longer the Team Extreme Matt Hardy. It looks like we're getting more of an icon role from his old days in Impact Wrestling. So it's interesting to see how we see this go forward between these three guys. Next up, we get the New Year's resolutions of the Inner Circle. Now, this was pretty cool going forward. As we saw, Jericho asked everyone what the New Year's resolution was, and Jake Hager cut straight to the chase. He said championships. Now, not everybody else had the same New Year's resolution, as Ortiz said that he wanted to perfect his mom's cooking recipe. And we saw MJF say that he wanted to strengthen the bond between himself and the other members of the Inner Circle. So we actually get Chris Jericho where he declares himself and MJF are going to end up being the AEW World Tag Champions. Now, we end up seeing Santana and Ortiz have a huge problem with this because, as they said it, that they were actually brought into the Inner Circle to be the official tag team for the Inner Circle. And they got a huge problem with it. And we see Sammy Guevara step in and he's like, guys, you guys can't tell? Chris Jericho is a tag team slut. He said he's tagged with me as Le Sex Gods. He's tagged with Jake Hager, and now he's saying he's going to tag with MJF. Clearly, he doesn't know how to commit to a tag partner. And now we start to see an argument between the whole entire inner circle, especially between Sammy Guevara and MJF again. But we see Jericho just quiet things down and say, all right, then let's have a friendly exhibition. Let's see who's going to be the official tag team. And he declared for next week, we're going to see a triple threat tag match between MJF and Chris Jericho versus Jake Hager and Sammy Guevara versus Santana and Ortiz, where the winner is the official tag team of the Inner Circle. Next up, we get an interview with the Dark Order, where Alex Marvez is the one interviewing them, and he asks them flat out, what's next for the Dark Order in 2021? And Evil Uno speaks up for the group, and he talks about how everything that they're doing now moving forward is in the honor of their former leader, the late great Brody Lee. And now the first move moving forward is next week that the members of the Dark Order will be teaming with Hangman Adam Page in a tag team competition match. So as this is going on, John Silver brings in Adam Page, flat out asks him, is it official now that Hangman will be a part of the Dark Order? And he doesn't give him a clear answer. But the guys ask, how about next week at the end of the match, you let us know if you're in or if you're out. So Hangman Adam Page agreed, and next week that's what we're going to see. We're going to hear Adam Page's actual answer on if he's going to be joining the Dark Order or not. Next up, we have the Elite in action, where we see Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Don Callis backstage. They talk about having an entrance with all three of them like the old times. Right before they come to this conclusion, Don Callis is like, no, how about you guys come out separately, because he likes the Young Bucks entrance. So, of course, we get Kenny Omega's entrance, and right before Justin Roberts makes the announcement of the Young Bucks coming out, we see Don Callis grab the microphone, where he was supposed to be introducing the Young Bucks. Well, he didn't introduce the Young Bucks. He actually introduced the Good Brothers. Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows come out, and we see a picture of in the back where we see Tony Khan and the Young Bucks furious by this decision. So as this goes on, we see the 6-man tag match of this so-called Elite, Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, versus the Varsity Blondes and Johnny Limelight. And boy, did Limelight had a match. He really showed up in this match against Kenny Omega, really having some great offense in. But essentially, we saw the Elite just dominate. And this ends up leading to a great fury of offense from these three. But at the end, we see the Magic Killer for the Good Brothers and Omega's win. And after the match, while these three are celebrating, yes, we do get it. It is Jon Moxley. His music hits, and he ain't wasting no time. He's coming down the crowd, and he's ready to roll. As he's coming down, he knows that the numbers are not in his favor, so he goes straight in, going right after Kenny. And essentially, the numbers kick in. And then we see an unexpected team come out. It was the Lucha Bros. They go after the Good Brothers, and they're starting to fight them off on the outside. And then we see the locker room start to flood out, and they separate these two. But Mox isn't having it. He fights off the people that were holding him back, and then he makes an outside dive, a tope suicida, onto Kenny Omega and the guys that are holding him back. So they go into this crazy brawl, and as John goes back into the ring, we see the Young Bucks come out. And the Young Bucks, they're trying to stop Jon Moxley, we see the Lucha Bros come up behind them, and they hit super kicks on the Young Bucks. And then we see the rest of the locker room come out, and they're separating these guys again. I'm sorry. As they're separating these guys, we see Kenny Omega and Don Callis fall back, as Don Callis is bringing back Kenny Omega to fight another battle another day. Next up, we have the waiting room with Brit Baker hosting Cody Rhodes. As Reba introduces Brit Baker, that's when I realized one heck of a talker is Brit Baker, as she's just going in on Cody before he comes out, congratulating him for the pregnancy and a lot of things in between. So she brings out Cody, they're talking up a little bit, and then Brit Baker's like, hold on, I forgot to tell you about my other big guest. And then she brings out Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill is upset. She's like, when is my match? I've been waiting in the back. I'm ready for my match. And she's starting to get really tired of Cody. And she shoves Cody in the face. And as this happens, we see Red Velvet approach Jade from behind. And then they come face to face. And Red Velvet ain't here to waste no time. She smacks Jade Cargill right in the face, and then they have a brawl. And now we see the females pull them apart. And as we see this, Jade Cargill is brought to the one side, and Red Velvet is brought from outside of the set, and she runs back through the door and spears Jade Cargill. And as we see this break down some more, and Cody gets more officials to separate these two, we see Brit Baker go on her phone, and she brings up this video on the Titantron where it's her beating up Thunder Rosa. As this is going on, at the end of the video, we see Thunder Rosa pop up, where she informs Brit Baker that in 3 weeks we will see at the Beach Bash Brit Baker versus Thunder Rosa, where Thunder Rosa is looking to get her comeback for the beatdown that Brit Baker gave her a few weeks ago. Our next match is the Jurassic Express versus FTR, where we saw FTR bullying Marco Stunt. As he's so light and small, they can really do whatever they want to do, because it doesn't matter whatever Marco does. His offense is not going to hit nearly as much as it should, no matter how innovative it is. So essentially, we see the game change when Jungle Boy gets tagged in, and then we see a flurry of nice, high-octane offense from both of these guys, hitting great tag team moves as they adjust to Marco's size and Jungle Boy's athleticism. Essentially, we saw a lot of start-stop momentum for the Jurassic Express, as soon as Marco would come in, their momentum was automatically stopped right away. And then as soon as Jungle Boy would come in, their momentum would kickstart up again, because Jungle Boy had to fix what was wrong with the match before Marco was in. So essentially what we see is Tully Blanchard gets involved at the end, where he hits Marco Stunt into the ring post, and then we see him distract Jungle Boy to the point where FTR hits the finish on Marco Stunt for FTR to get the win. Next match we get is Serena Deeb versus Tay Conti for the NWA Women's Championship, where we see a nice even matchup where it's Serena Deeb's technical sound wrestling ability versus the high obtained striking offense from Tay Conti, who has a background in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, this is an even match starting off, but where it turns around for Tay Conti's advantage is when Tay Conti hits a huge pump kick, knocking Serena Deeb out of the ring. Now, eventually, we see Serena Deeb's experience really kick in, as Serena Deeb has so much more wrestling experience than Conti does, where we see Conti hit another pump kick, knocking Serena Deeb into the turnbuckle, and as Conti goes for a finisher, we see Deeb reverse it with a backslide, leading up to the detox for Serena Deeb to get the win. And now, our main event, we see Brian Cage versus Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. And starting off, we see Darby Allin go straight after Brian Cage as he hits a low drop kick, leading Cage to roll up to the outside of the ring. And then Darby Allin just hits a fury of outside dives. Now, Darby goes for one too many as he goes for a tope suicida. And then we see Brian Cage catches him, just bringing him into a suplex outside the ring. And then he brings him back inside the ring. And we see Brian Cage do something I haven't seen be done before. He throws Darby Allin from inside the ring onto the table of the timekeeper area. So as this happens, we see Brian Cage literally dominate for almost 90% of this match. What really changes it is when Brian Cage is trying to get offense in on the steel stairs, but Darby Allin reverses it, hitting a coffin drop from the top rope onto the outside of the ring onto top of the stairs. And then we see Darby Allin really start to get some creative offense in. He even takes off his belt to bring in Brian Cage's legs together to get in some offense. But we see as Darby Allin goes up to the top rope, we see Ricky Starks get involved. And as this happens, we see the lights go out, and it's Sting. Sting has his bat, and he goes right after Ricky Starks. And then we see Brian Cage go up to the top rope to meet Darby Allin. And as Brian Cage goes up for what looks like a suplex, Darby Allin reverses it, and he hits a huge crucifix bomb off of the middle rope to pin Brian Cage to retain his TNT Championship. Well, that was the end of it. That was the entire 2 nights of New Year's Smash, and it was a great one. I really enjoyed night 2, and I even enjoyed night 1 a lot too. What a nice way for AEW to kick off the year. So if you guys like it, go ahead and like the video right there. If you guys really enjoy our content, don't forget to share and subscribe, of course. But until next time, I'm Kevin Jones, and that was wrestling.